John, correct?
25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20. Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people that are watching us from around the world and saying, okay, I know where Canada is, and I know where British Columbia is, and I know there's a city in British Columbia that's called Vancouver. Well, Prince George is 500 miles north of Vancouver, which puts it, or for our European friends, about 800 kilometers. That puts us in the center of British Columbia, an absolute beautiful area, lots of nature and all those other things. So today, a very, very special podcast. We have a very, very special guest. Her name is Falyn Morningstar. And so when I looked at Falyn's bio, and I looked at it, and what really kind of brought my attention to is that what she wrote, I believe that there is a divine plan the universe has in store for all of us. We need to seek it. I have faith in it, and live every day with the full intentions of awareness. Get to know yourself and what your mind, body, and soul are telling you. Breaking condition. Falyn, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So, give us a background on yourself. You were born in a small town. Tell us about that, and then your background in your education, and how did you get to where we are today?
Would love to. So my location currently is in Pennsylvania. I grew up in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I know a lot of people are familiar with that historic town.
Yes.
And I went to school for business administration, actually. I have a bachelor's in that. I worked in government for a little bit, local government, in their engineering department, and I actually got a master's degree in environmental engineering. So kind of transitioning a little bit when I had some health issues come up, I turned to my family physician and turned to my gynecologist when these compounding health symptoms started to happen at age 26. And I didn't really find the answers I was looking for. So thankfully, I got shifted into this functional health realm, this holistic health. And I loved the information. I loved what I was being educated on. It changed my life. It changed my health. Running functional lab tests, opening my mind up to meditation and mindfulness. And so I then became a functional health practitioner, which was the exact same certification as the gentleman that had helped me. And then fast forward, I got a personal training certification. I am certified as a sonic facilitator. What else? I'm also like somatic driven. So it's a lot of wellness pieces that have come together over the last 5 years.
So what is interesting in particular, as I looked at your bio, is that you had health issues that you were not getting from the, and I'm not being critical of anybody, but where the traditional medical system did not respond to it in a way that it solved or identified the issues that you were dealing with, which were very, very serious. It affected all of you, your who you were, your everything, virtually, not only medically, but the whole you. And so it brought you to the holistic approach to medicine, and the integrated holistic, maybe in a way. What does that really mean as an approach to medicine?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So, and the family physician, I think Western medicine and kind of Eastern integrative can really work together in some points. But say if you're trying to lead a more holistic life, or trying to realize that the brain is connected with the gut and it's connected with the feet, instead of going to a family physician for a generic thing, or going to a psychotherapist for mental health,
Right.
not really talking about your diet, right? So the integrative part is addressing the body as one whole system.
Right.
And when the some of the health symptoms that I was experiencing was, the common bloating, digestive distress, very low energy, emotional eating, the whole gamut. And I think a lot of us experience this, but something that was very intense to me was that I would get lightheaded with just walking. And it was just this chronic, wired and tired feeling. So after seeing the Western side, I said, I need help.
Yeah.
I look okay on the outside, and that's what I was told. You look okay, but at that point, I didn't really have language around what to ask for. I just said, these are my symptoms. Maybe it's my hormones, I'm not sure.
And those related particular to your monthly cycles and all those things that are very critical to you as an individual, but you were not getting the satisfaction or the answers that you required to it affected everything that you did, really.
Yes, and one of the probably the most intense part was I had been on a contraceptive, the birth control pill, the hormonal birth control pill for a decade long. And was listening to a podcast that really opened my mind up to how the pill is detrimental to women's health. And that can be a whole nother podcast episode of the business of birth control. But it really does cause mineral deficiencies. It's very impactful to the liver in a detrimental way. So that kind of exacerbated all of the symptoms when I decided to stop taking it. But my
So,
gynecologist,
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I got I was just going to say, when I informed my gynecologist that I had decided to stop taking this, and I had seen this woman since I've been 16, unfortunately, she said, well, I kind of feel like you should still be on a contraceptive. What other one would you like the copper IUD or a type of shot? I was like, I don't want anything. Like, I just want to get my health back. I want to balance out my hormones here. And,
Right.
that was kind of a pivotal moment of, I'm not going to go see that doctor again.
So again, taking birth control pills, very commonly used throughout the world for many, many years already. But it brought you to the point where you knew there was something that was affecting your whole being. So you talked to somebody that practiced on the holistic side of things and looked at your hormones and approached it from a whole different direction.
Hmm. Exactly. And at the time, I was working full time. I was going to graduate school and I was training as a bodybuilder. So I even competed in powerlifting meets, and it kind of shifted my training every now and then to like the bodybuilding style of training. So it was a lot of stress on my body. And I think that's how, over, 3 to 4 years of doing that lifestyle consistently, how my adrenals just got burnt out, how I just kind of crumbled basically, and this metabolic chaos type of cycle where the symptoms just continued to compound.
So then, again, I'm not obviously a doctor, a medical person, but I'm just following logic. It could well be that the stress you put physically on your body, being a bodybuilder, I'm a bodybuilder, so I know that kind of, in a way, forced the issue, and that then made you, had to do something about it. It may well have helped you to find the different approach for you and your body.
Hmm.
Did that
Yeah,
make
and
sense?
even absolutely, that totally makes sense. When kind of in the bodybuilding days, if you will, I was heavily involved with a supplement company. So I was taking the very processed protein powders, the pump enhancers, all of that
Right.
gamut. And so finding out about functional health, that shifted a lot. My diet shifted a lot. I learned about gluten and soy and how that impacts the body. So there's definitely a lot of beautiful changes that were being taught to me. And I also opened my eyes up to meditation as like a type of mindfulness practice to really become aware of myself, aware of my thoughts. Um, so, yeah, that's kind of where it all started.
And these issues are very common, I presume, and not being really dealt with, but more so now than they were probably 10, 20 years ago, when now people are looking more at alternative medicines, holistic medicines, hormonal issues, and all the things around it. And people can question more, am I doing the right thing for this precious person that can be so, a body can be so immensely forgiving, it wants to be healthy, but how do you find the issues that are really could be extremely troubling if you would not have started interacting with the holistic person, then things would not have stayed. You would stayed on the pill, and it likely could have gone much further than that because all the critical organs are being affected.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I think I would have been diagnosed with something, whether that be like an autoimmune condition, because that's the direction that it was heading. And I think, you know, genetics are certainly part of us, right? We are inherited these set of genes, but our lifestyle is what turns on and off these genes. So very critical. And I think a lot of the lifestyle shifts, what we do as practitioners, and I say we because there's many practitioners that are certified under functional diagnostic nutrition, and we always address life in 5 pillars. So it's called the DRESS protocol. So it's
Right.
diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. So if we're kind of touching on each of these points in our life, then in a holistic way, then there's oodles of like opportunities that we can see rather than being stuck with the symptoms, being stuck with the fatigue and the diagnosis and whatever else.
Yeah. So all those issues are more and available now to a public at large. And actually, I'm writing a book about that. I've written a number of books, but this one is I'm coming out in July, Living Young, Dying Old. And basically, it's a picture of me actually as a bodybuilder. And I'm going to be 84 in November. And and I'm kind of competing, training right now for I'm probably the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America, and to me, health, fitness, and all those things that you're talking about are extremely important. All the elements, and it's all part of my book as well. And obviously, I've looked at that very, very careful while preparing the book. It's but more and more people are becoming more sensitive and understanding of it, but still it has a long way to go. That's why I believe you are such an important guest on my podcast in particular, talking to the people around the world about those issues.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's absolutely awesome that you are developing this other book because I think it's very inspiring, especially when you mention people are becoming more sensitive. It's almost like because we're inherited this set of genes and because our world is changing so quickly, our gut microbiome is already very negatively impacted even from birth, right?
Right,
And I
right.
think a lot of us are even more sensitive, or say if we don't handle, like if me as a female, being, not having kids yet, and I have, let's say, polycystic ovarian syndrome, let's say irritable bowel syndrome, any sort of diagnosis, and I don't handle it before I decide to bring another life in, right? I'm kind of passing on my stuff that I haven't handled to another generation. And I think it's really pivotal that we take responsibility and do the best that we can before we decide to bring another life in.
Absolutely, and it applies to the male as well. for same reasons genetically. I'm not sure how that passes on, but obviously it's whatever we bring into the world is a product of both of us in some form or fashion, but to be aware of all of those issues is critically important. I'm very lucky, my wife is vegetarian, and it took me a while before she preached to me a lot about fitness, and she's very much diet oriented, very proactive and understanding the medical system and all the things around it. And sometimes it's not critical, but looking at the traditional system versus all the other things that we are now more aware of, hormones and understanding our body and all the things that we can do, so much more important right now.
That's amazing. And I think even you're changing the world with your age and how to impact, because I know with my grandparents, they eat quite poorly, their lifestyle is quite poor. And I think you're really leading the way for that generation and younger.
It's critical, what I'm doing is that I'm very conscientious of diet. Thank you to my wife in a way, and it took her a while to get me on it, but that's what I'm doing, very, very conscientious of what I eat, mainly plant-based. And then if I do all the shopping, go to the grocery store, I usually stay on the outside of the grocery store because I don't like processed food, especially not super processed, and because I don't know what is in it, and then mainly plant-based and organic, and again making sure it is, and then also be very conscientious about exercise. And I'm going to the gym, and I'm actively training, and I'd like to have a goal, so I'm bodybuilding again, getting ready for the 2025. I want to go to the Arnold's. And
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
you're talking about in Ohio?
Yeah. So
yes, I've been there twice. It's amazing.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, so I qualified for it in 2018. I'm in Northern BC. I was bodybuilding, came third in bodybuilding, second in physique. That qualified me for the provincials. I came second in physique, third in bodybuilding, which qualified me for the nationals in the Arnold's. And so, wow. But then COVID came, and so now I'm training again. I want to go in 2025, and I'm 85. Again, go to the Arnold's, and and that's what I'm going to do. And I say everything is possible. So I'm training very hard, and as you can see on the picture, and I've already contacted Arnold. I want him on my podcast, but people have to say to him, "Hey, John wants to get you on their podcast," because I'm going to say to him, "I'll be back."
Yes. Yeah.
So, tongue in cheek, obviously, but but fitness very, very important. I love to go to the gym. I go out of my way. I'm fairly busy. I'm not trying to be important, but going to the gym and working on my body is, to me, very, very important. And once you get into the habit of doing it, it becomes something that's part of your life, and you will like it. And usually when I do, I work out hard, but at the same time, I know already it will be very rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I definitely love the gym too. It's just you feel good always after you're done. The consistency part, I think that's a hurdle for a lot of people especially when they don't like going. But I suggest if someone is working a 9 to 5, right, and they go home and then they're saying, I don't feel like going out of my house. Why don't you take your gym stuff with you to work and stop at the gym before work? So there's always like workarounds to try to fit in that movement piece.
Yeah, I used to at one point being in the group that at the end of the year we make that commitment. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, and then I'm going to have a membership to a gym, and then after 2 weeks you find 100 reasons why you can't go anymore. But once you realize that longevity and quality of life really is the most important, and the sooner you start thinking about it to a certain extent, especially, I know so many people that are in the mid 40s, late 40s, say, no, I don't want to go that anymore, and I don't want to do this and that because I'm too old now. Well, that's not so. You're never too old. Once you get in the habit of doing it, even starting with walking half an hour a day, then gradually build it up. And then once you see the results, which you will, it's going to be extremely rewarding. Not only from a physical perspective, in that people will say, hey, John, George, whoever, you look good. And then from there on in, it starts feeling good, and it is rewarding as you get older. Like for myself at 83, 84, I still get up at 5:30 in the morning. I always make my bed, and I always think I'm late. And I have 10 different companies. I write 5, 6 books. I'm a podcaster. I'm a speaker. Do all of these kind of things, so.
Yeah, you're definitely keeping busy. And I think something important is that movement can look any different way. Like you just said, it can be 30 minutes of walking, it can be weight training. For women, we can look at how our menstrual cycle is flowing, right? So if we're on our menses, like maybe more of a yin yoga is the best for us right now during that time, while maybe when our
Right.
hormones are up in our luteal phase, maybe we are strength training or doing some sort of HIIT. Or so there's different, it can stay interesting, right?
Right.
And really support that longevity piece, as you mentioned, because I know when I started in bodybuilding, I felt like movement had to look a certain way or I had to do this certain thing. And I think as women, our training can definitely look different than male.
Yeah, it is. Now, Falyn, do you have a website, or do you interact with the public online, or what do you do? You're a holistic coach, so do you have information available to the people that are watching us around the world?
I do. So the website is falynmorningstar.com.
Okay.
And I do have a remote business, so I consider myself as a functional health practitioner. And currently, my partner and I have been traveling for the last 2 months. We've been traveling from Texas all the way up to Georgia, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, which that's where we are currently, and New York and Vermont. And we have plans to go to Michigan. And all of these states, we're trying to present to them how health can be very multifaceted. So
Yeah.
if there are any of your listeners would want to attend our live events, that would be amazing. There's another website that's just called listeningtosmile.com/sonic tour. And that's kind of what we've been up to for the last 2 months doing
Okay.
these live events.
And so, what do the live events look like?
So it's about 2.5 hour event. First, we are talking about how frequency and sound can really impact ourself. So
Right.
as we know, food has a certain frequency. Everything is in our planet holds a frequency, like a hertz type of frequency.
Right.
So we're educating on how impactful that is to our well-being.
Right.
And then we're doing a creative writing exercise to help us get out of our minds and our monkey minds and going all of these distracted directions of, if I write a book or if I write a poem, like, is it going to be good enough to the public? All those
Yeah.
judgments that we have. So
Yeah.
this writing exercise really puts us into our heart.
Right.
And it's almost like we are co-creating with God or with spirit, and it settles us into the rest of the event. So the rest of the event, we are working on visualization, and setting intention. We're doing a type of somatic exercise to really bring safety to our nervous system. We're doing guided meditation, and then the rest of it is a type of sound bath. So the music is all created by Ian from Listening to Smile.
I find it amazing. When you started it, the first thing that you said is, what was the first one again? You start with
Frequency.
What does that mean?
Frequency education.
Okay, but
So
frequency meaning what?
Basically, we're teaching what is frequency.
Okay.
What is sound? When we think of sound, we think of music. Maybe we're listening to
Right.
the radio or any sort of iTunes, etc.
Right.
And so we're teaching about how this type of sound is different. We're teaching about how 528 hertz or 432 hertz, those types of frequencies, even all the way down to like 40 hertz and below, we're teaching how those specific frequencies
Okay.
can impact our well-being
Right.
in a great way, right? So there's a specific frequency for liver health, heart. We can talk about the chakras that we have, the energy centers in our body.
Right.
So it is very, we keep it understandable, but
Right.
we want people to see and be open to the idea of how music can look a little bit different than maybe what they've been looking at on YouTube, for example, or anywhere else.
Yeah. I have a friend that here that is also working at sound out of bowls and yeah, very amazing to again looking at the whole different approach to being holistic. Now, holistic doesn't mean generic. It can mean a lot of different approaches being a holistic coach, correct?
It can, yes. So I would consider myself holistic, but I'm also running functional lab tests on clients. So it can look a little bit different. We can have like a type of Ayurvedic practitioner or maybe an herbalist. So they still practice holistic things, but it's a slightly different approach to how they might be helping a client.
And then functional health practitioner, what do they do?
So we really coach in that DRESS protocol. So the 5 pillars of health: the diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation.
Right.
And then kind of on top of that, this umbrella on top of that is we do run lab tests if we need, because those really help us see these hidden stressors, like what is going on inside. For example, I'm looking at food sensitivities based on your blood sample. I'm looking at hormones based on your urine sample. I'm looking at stool, so that how the microbiome is and how that's impacting your gut health. So those tests results get sent to me as a practitioner, and we create this protocol where we're shifting the diet. Very much helpful to have those tests, right? Because we know, like, okay, you might be sensitive to chicken right now or zucchini. Like those things come up and they're like, they are healthy. Why am I being sensitive to them? And it's just your particular blood results right now. That's not forever. So those tests are so helpful in kind of making a client be more of a fast track to healing rather than really guessing of what's going to work for them.
So your approach is different than a medical doc that if I do blood tests, I get blood tests done for me, then they look at it and they look at a number of things and saying everything is fine, but you go beyond that.
Yes, and I think one pivotal piece, Western medicine, if you're doing like a particular metabolic profile or like a CBC, like traditional blood work, their ranges are actually much broader.
Right.
Because they capture more people.
Right.
Meaning like you're in the green, you're normal. And I think with the functional approach, our ranges are a bit more narrow because we're trying to help optimize health.
Yeah.
And so it does kind of fine tune things. We're not managing symptoms. We're really trying to go to the root cause of like, why are these coming up? So it is definitely very helpful. And I think a lot of the tests are not, like the tests that we do as functional health practitioners, are not actually offered by doctors, or they don't really know of them.
No.
Because they're not really trained in that stuff, unfortunately.
No. And so then how do you identify them? I'm looking at Canada versus United States. We have universal health care here in Canada, and then United States is much broader. It's not universal, but the universal healthcare has benefits and liabilities to it. I believe that it's very good for emergencies, but not very good at being preemptive or proactive. And so, so a lot of times for somebody like me and my wife, we are very proactive. Like tomorrow, my wife, myself, we'll be in Vancouver because we're doing MRIs, full body.
Mm-hmm.
So
just to check up.
Yeah. No, not for any other reasons than we pay for it ourselves. We do that every 18 months. We did it 18 months ago, and so we're doing it now as well. And then the other part that I'm doing, I have a medical doctor, but also and also a cardiovascular doctor. To again looking at things like other things other than the typical medical doctor would look at. Mm-hmm. Now, in the United States now, are holistic doctors available? And how does somebody find you and knows that, very unique in your skill sets? Is that available? How do you find somebody like you other than Googling it, offering the services that go much further, much deeper, and as you said, blood tests, you go much narrower, and then you go further in terms of trying to be preemptive in diagnosis much deeper and further, trying to find the core issues and the underlying problems.
Yeah, I think the first point I want to make is that whenever we do find concerns or issues, like we don't diagnose anything, we're not treating anything, right? We don't have the authority to really do that. Right. We don't write prescriptions either. But I will say, like, if the client would ever want to bring those test results to their doctor, they have, by all means, they can do that, and they can go like a prescriptive or antibiotic route if they choose to do that. We really take, the natural supplement route or that sort of protocol route. But I know that the company Functional Diagnostic Nutrition, that's the certification that I have. So we can coach anywhere in the world. Now, certainly some of the tests are not available all over the world, right? So there are, we might have to look at a different lab that is associated with the company to try to get the client some support. But I will say that there are chiropractors that have gone through this program. There are even MDs, DOs that have gone through this program as well. And there's even single moms, right? There's a whole variety of people that have taken this certification to really add that to their tool belt. But I know that FDN just came out with a directory. So a lot of the practitioners are listed in there. And I know that the founder, Reed Davis, really would love to get to the level of, if a client needs some help, they're looking at an FDN to help them first and be preventative and proactive rather than, kind of waiting for that ticking time bomb to go off and kind of having to, take a more drastic route to get your health back.
And the whole critical part is, and that's how you started earlier, is that, you had all kinds of issues that was something you knew was not right. And by coincidence, more than anything else, because of the way you were pushing your body when you were bodybuilding, that you had to find somebody that was looking at you and your body in a different way than the traditional medicine is. And so found the holistic individual. The other part that I've been very fortunate. I have a naturopathic doc as well that is very good. But we are always looking at, my wife always does, is constantly look at where do we go from here and how can we be preemptive of some of the things that are happening to our body? And the key is to know that in a timely way, and without it costing a whole lot of money, but for people here in Canada, but for us, obviously, and personally, and my family, we do that proactive ourselves. But availability of that is very, very important.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think one thing to note is that most of the tests that we run as practitioners are not covered by insurance. And that is unfortunate. Hopefully in the future that could possibly change to, expand to really try to help people's health rather than trying to have this monetary exchange here in the US, kind of like sick care, not really health care in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's the same in Canada. The being
Okay.
universal, they try not to do that, right? So because of the cost involved. On the other hand, I think that with the knowledge that is out there, and you being very proactive about it on podcasting, I am in my books and podcasting talking about health and fitness and being preemptive and being aware is very, very important. We know the basics, the 5 points that you made, very, very important. And then there are some other ones that are very basic. Don't smoke, obviously, is one of those. And at least, give your body exercise. Doesn't mean you have to become a bodybuilder or an Olympian, but at least start walking half an hour a day, 20 minutes a day, and then gradually, if you stay the course, you will see very pleasant results, not only mentally and psychologically, but you will start feeling better. And then kind of be more aware of diet, or the no-brainers that, in the center aisles a lot of times is the processed food. You don't know what is in it, and a lot of times.
Exactly.
And that's not a good sign. The healthy eating is important. Sleep is important. From my perspective, I try to sleep 7 to 9 hours a day, which again are very, very important.
Mm-hmm. I think also something that came to mind is we are either paying now or we're paying later, right? We're either kind of taking charge of our health now with better food, organic, even having a relationship with maybe a farmer that, you can get really great food is awesome. Or you can decide to pay later. I mean, at one point, it's going to come up, and I think it's much better that, even you and I are kind of sharing this with the audience and community, that it is much better to be proactive about it. It's much less painful.
Yeah, and more so people want to be proactive, right? And don't
Yeah.
always know how. And the reason know how is that a lot of times it's very complicated to figure it out, looking at YouTube and all the other things. But I believe that there are ways in which it becomes simpler and better understood. Hence my book that I'm doing. I want to grow up to about be 120.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'll see you there. Yeah.
I like that. So
Yeah.
the so uh, so the so just coming back to when you started and you made a decision as to what to do, where to go from there, is that the direction then you took, is that the key for you was that you knew something was wrong with your body. I hear that even from my wife, that she, at one point in her life, probably 20, 25 years ago, she knew she had to do something different rather than what was looked at as that's what we do. That is too many medicals, too many pills, and all of that. That there must be a better way, and to treat this precious body that we have, that is so immensely forgiving,
Yeah.
that wants to be healthy, and to understand it better, is the key. And for all those people that are challenged, not only, but I find a lot of times now, and you mentioned it at the beginning of our podcast, is that I do a lot of presentations to younger people that are in either high schools or in college or university, is that I believe what is very important is to feel you are special, each individual, you are unique. There's only one of you in this world. So try to create that confidence that you're okay. Don't get preoccupied about this is not quite right, that's not quite right, I should wear this because I'm. Create that confidence that you are special, and that and whatever that may mean to the individual, and then at the same time find a direction in life. I wrote a book about that, finding your passion, living the dream, and the importance of whatever you do. A lot of times I found that I saw, I think on a program, I forget now which one, CNN or one of those American programs, is that they said that 75% of the working people in the United States don't like their job. I think Canada is the same. And up to 70% of them are looking for another job. And so that a lot of times when I give presentations to young people in schools, then I always say, what do you want to do when you finish? They say, I don't know. It's saying, well, maybe what you should do, respectfully, is that talk to people that already are in different careers or have chosen a certain direction. Talk to them. You want to be a truck driver? Talk to a truck driver. See how that job is, what they are doing. You want to be a contractor, build houses or whatever. Talk to somebody that works in all elements or different segments of it, so you get an understanding. Or maybe you want to be a lawyer. Talk to lawyers. A lot of them, without paying a fee, would love to talk to you at least about what it means to be a lawyer and where the opportunities are. Or maybe you want to be a doc, and maybe even more so, maybe you want to be a CEO or an entrepreneur. And so talk to a CEO and entrepreneur. They love to talk to you. So I felt I had to write a book about that, so I wrote this one, Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream. So, and saying, well, John, then are you living the dream at 83 and you're still working, nearly 84? I love it. I love every day. And as I said earlier, I usually get up at 5:30 in the morning, always make my bed, and I'm always thinking I'm late. But I love what I'm doing, and I love what I've done in the past. And so that part is also very important for, that at least you feel good about what you're doing, because if you do something that you don't like, so many people are, and you go home, you take it with you, it will always be around you, and that's not very good.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I think even working in local government, I also worked in the insurance industry for a little while. And it was almost like I agree with your point of checking in with others, exploring those areas of, oh, maybe I would like to do that. But I think I wasn't checking in with myself,
Yeah.
right? What is my soul calling? And I think a lot of it is because we people please, or we want to be accepted, right, by family or by whatever. So I would encourage the add-on to what you said of checking in with yourself and really going with what your heart is saying, to gather the information and then have the courage to go out there and do something that really interests you. And I want to make
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to make a point to where you said, I think we normalize now a lot of our symptoms. If we have a headache, we take a Tylenol or Advil. If we have digestive issues, we take a Tums. If we have anxiety, we get a prescription for that. And I think those things are very normalized, but they're not actually normal. Like, we should not be experiencing these things. And I think those are kind of wake-up calls to say something isn't right here, whether it's eating or your nervous system is dysregulated, or you have this worry or this fear from maybe a past trauma that maybe you didn't process enough. So I think having that mindfulness practice per day is very essential to knowing, like, am I doing okay? Because I think society pulls us away from ourselves all the time, whether it's through the screen, through this hustle bustle that we have to do all the time. And I think that is why we're seeing a lot of more sick people. We're just normalizing those symptoms because we're very much pulled from our center.
Yeah, I agree with that, Falyn. Is that to be at peace with yourself, be aware of yourself, be aware of your body, is very, very important. My wife, again, I keep mentioning my wife, Sharon. She has been doing that for many, many years already, and that's what she would say as well. Although she doesn't practice, she is just, somebody that is conscientious about, her body and is seeking information which is available online. But again, saying that the most precious thing you have is that you are special, but at the same time is that you must take care not only of your physical body but also mentally, in terms of be at peace with who you are and that you are special. And so I see so often that young people in particular are so critical about themselves in terms of who they are, and it's so important to try to reconcile with it, or seek encouragement, or feel. You have to have the feeling that not better than, but at least I'm unique and I'm special in this world. I'm one of them, and I'm on this trip that will bring me through life, hopefully mentally, physically, as best as we can. But a lot of times we have seen that, in particular, the so-called last decade are usually not very good. And in between, if we don't like a lot of things that we do, that's not very good either, not for ourselves, not for what is around us. And to build dreams and have dreams, whatever they may be, of going to the lake or enjoying nature, or be so fortunate where we live. And a lot of times what I do is I travel a lot. I fly a lot. We do a lot of business in the United States. Every time I travel in North America, I usually in the plane, I sit by the window and I look outside and say, it's paradise. It is paradise. How lucky we are compared to a lot of times the rest of the world, especially looking at the Ukraine and the Middle East and many, many other places. We are so fortunate as to where we are. And, so those are the kind of things that are important to me.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. It's about being in that gratitude state. I think even having like a 5-10 minute practice in the evenings just to tap back into that gratitude of how
Yeah.
grateful we can be.
Mediation. I did a podcast with a guest on mediation, and saying mediation is very important. And we did some, with her and myself, just for 2, 3, 4 minutes, eyes open or closed. Just sit and just be with yourself. And if you practice that as another part of what you do, it kind of brings you into this self, a quiet area, which I believe very important.
Yes, I think you brought up something that reminded me of doing a type of somatic practice. If anyone knows what somatic experiencing, and definitely encourage you to check it out on Google or YouTube. But even after the certification that I got with the functional health, I still felt like things were missing. And it was that first S in the dress. It was the stress reduction, because it was like I was checking off all these boxes, right? Diet, rest, have all of my routine down. But it wasn't, I needed to address some things in the past that I still was holding on to in my body. So I think when we have traumas that we experience, whether it's, a physical car accident or even like sexual abuse or anything in the past that may have dysregulated us, we kind of take a snapshot in time of that intense emotional experience, and it can get stored in our body, and that can end up manifesting into physical health symptoms. And I think even after I addressed a lot of the things, it was almost like I needed to dive deeper into knowing how to feel safe in my body and how to regulate my nervous system. So the somatic piece that I now incorporate into my client sessions has been really awesome as well.
I find it so important because, as you already know, I was born in 1940 in northeastern Holland. That was during the war years, and I was 5 when, saw far too much that we should not have seen in difficult circumstances. A lot of things that we should not have seen, and and then it stayed with me as part of me, and in fact, I got counseling for the inner child, that little boy that never resolved that, well into my 50s. Extremely emotional, but that's one of the points in terms of being affected by trauma. Somebody recognizing we were getting counseling for other issues and say, I should talk to John about something that I believe, blah, blah, blah. And so I did that then, but those are some of the things. Don't feel ashamed of seeking counseling or seeking help. May that be physical or mental or other things that are troubling and that have an effect on you and the people around you. And, so try to, in ways that you already indicated, but I was talking about earlier, is to, in some form or fashion, get attention to those issues as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how I mentioned my partner and I, Ian, doing these live events, there's different affiliations or partnerships with Listening to Smile, and one of them being veterans groups. There's 2 veterans groups that work with Listening to Smile on the music. Specifically, they love the Pain Relief album. It really is helping them with the PTSD that they've, experienced on the battlefield.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, if you kind of look back now, Falyn, you have had quite an experience from growing up in a small town and then throughout your life physically as well, and trying to find a direction to young persons that go through this process. As we both know, there are many. What advice can we leave with them? The other thing that I found amazing about that you said, heal together, rise together. That's one of your mottos that I found very, very important.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. So I think it is each of our responsibilities to be that health detective, that health advocate for ourselves. Doesn't mean, don't work with a doctor or practitioner, but I just mean if you still don't feel like you're getting the answers, or, the intuition is saying this doesn't feel right, follow that. But the motto of heal together is when each of us raise our vibration, it helps to rise all of us, right? So we're healing together. Certainly it's sometimes individual, but we're then rising together. And I think, we as human beings, we love this connection. We love to have bonds with people. We are meant to do that. And I think if we can be in environments that are very encouraging, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, it changes our life. So that motto just came to me of like, oh, I actually like that. So it has stuck with me for a couple of years now.
No, I think very, very important. Anything else that comes to mind? That the hour went by very, very quickly. We could go on for another couple hours at least.
I know. Yeah. if it's okay with you, I would love to offer your listeners a particular offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, um, I think mindfulness is something I would highly encourage, my age group, older, younger, to first establish, because I think, answering your question just a moment ago, I think that's the first piece I would say, and that is easily done by checking in with your breath, right? How deep are you breathing? Is it into your diaphragm, into your belly, or is it just into your throat? So I think just working on the mindset and breathing can be a beautiful, free first step. And then tackle the little things, just baby steps, right? I think, changing your lifestyle can become overwhelming of, oh my gosh, I have to throw all this out in my cabinet now. Well, no, you don't, right? Just take it step by step. It's not a race here. It is kind of a marathon. So just little progress, 1% better every day, right? So
Exactly.
what I would like to offer in kind of the mindfulness category is I have my own meditation album that came out last month in partnership with Listening to Smile. So it is 4 guided meditations as well as 4 instrumentals of this beautiful, like, frequency-minded music. So if any of your listeners are interested, the specific website link is falynhuntermorningstar.bandcamp.com, and I can certainly have that, share that with you to add into the show notes. But I'm offering a 20% off. So the code that they'd like to put in is on the brink. So that will not expire. So that'll be
Okay.
good for life. So that is 20% off, and anyone that does purchase that digital album gets the pain relief album for free from Listening to Smile.
Okay, give us the website once more then.
Yep, it is falynhuntermorningstar.bandcamp.com, and the code is correct in all caps, on the brink.
Excellent, Falyn. And to our guests that have been watching us from around the world, we believe that this again was very important podcast talking about holistic and alternative medicine. Falyn is an amazing guest, and we bring guests from around the world. Subscribe to our channel, share it, like it, and comment on it. Falyn, thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me, John, and for leading the way for a lot of us.
Yeah, take care.